Welcome to this week's episode of Sojourner, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Welcome back to the ongoing series, How Spaces Define Masculinity, a Black and Black-Biracial Men's Initiative. My name is Carol Jean Matthews-Shifflett, and I am the CEO of the Sojourner Group. I'd like to start by thanking my sponsors, the Utah Jazz, Planned Parenthood Association of Utah, Pacific Island Knowledge to Action Resource, PCAR, the Utah Coalition Against Sexual Assault, UCASA, and Enlightened Productions. I have a question online. Are there any items in which you feel that you must prove to validate yourself as a Black man, i.e., for example, get a certain job, get a specific girl to prove anything, or just show that you can push back without pressure that you are a man? And one of the things that came up last week with some millennials on the line was you had to have the right car. So do you think that you have to strive to have any of those things to validate yourself as a Black man in this country?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I do feel that the way society has perceived Black teens is you have to wear certain
Your
the
microphone
shoes I
is
wear,
in.
the shoes I wear, they have to be, basketball shoes or Nikes or something like that. Something that says he's an athlete. So there's that thing too, and I might have to, people expect me to wear hoodies. When I was in grade school, I used to wear my pants, but I would pull my pants up because, my legs were a little shorter than they are now. I was still tall, but I would pull my pants up to past my belly button. People would be like, "Oh my God, you're so white, pull your pants down." And so there's also that thing. And with the hairstyle, if I don't, completely shave my head, I have to, if I let my hair grow out, it can't be, an afro. That's seen as, too Black. It's like I'm trying too hard. So something maybe like,
And they want you to be Urkel. And
oh yeah,
just to comment, yeah, he definitely does look like him when he puts on some owl rim glasses and suspenders.
Yeah, he does. He's been called that so many times.
Yeah, they want me to, walk across the room with my legs 5 feet in the air, striding towards whoever I want to talk to with suspenders on. But with also that, they see, sometimes they see an afro as trying, hard to be too Black. The afro can't be big. It's got to be maybe a little bit bigger than Zion's hair. So there's that too. And then that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
All right. Zion, how do you want to answer that?
With the afro thing, I feel like that's kind of a lot. I mean, I've definitely seen in person with a really huge afro. Because we went to this blackness thing at my high school. It was really awkward. Not the person, but the dance itself. But yeah. But I do know a person named Max who has a really big afro, and that is honestly one of the things that people find cool. But when it comes to things that I feel I should have, there's definitely things that people think I should have. Like I should definitely have Jordans or something, or a really expensive Gucci belt or some type of stuff like that. Wearing expensive street clothes, the whole trend with ripped jeans or um, nice jackets and things, a chain or something like that. That's definitely still something that they expect from most Black people, but I don't have that because simply I don't really want it because I know that's not the kind of like attitude I'd bring if I'm wearing that kind of stuff. I'm not that kind of like hood kind of guy. I don't really talk like that. I don't act like that. I don't walk like that. So even if I were to wear all that stereotypical stuff, I'd still sound the same as I do now. So they'd just be like, "This is just weird." But yeah, there's definitely certain things that they think I should have. Um, and when it comes to girls, it's not really that I'm supposed to pull a specific girl, but more like the whole stereotype of um, girls like you because you're black or whatever, so you have to do certain things. Uh, there's also a whole thing, not generally what I'm supposed to have, but just one thing of being black. Like they act like our hair is some kind of like I don't know, like it's just weird how they act like it's something of a phenomenon, just like that we have curly hair like this. Because sure, there's others with curly hair, but it's not like ours. Like theirs are just loose, like long hair curls. So they're always like wanting to touch your hair and stuff. I'm just like, okay, you can stop now. This isn't a petting zoo. Um, but
They do that a
yeah,
lot.
there's definitely that kind of thing.
Do you
But
guys
no,
get
I don't really feel like I should have those because I'm not in that type of stereotype.
I know that's a girl thing. I didn't know it was a guy thing as well. And I know you all go to one of the most diverse schools in
Mhm.
Salt Lake City, Utah. So it's kind of interesting that because I mean I know that gosh, I'm surprised. That's all I'm just gonna say.
Well, it's not everyone who does that. It's usually just white people. It is literally only white people that ever
Yeah.
do that. And I'm just like, you can chill. I mean, sometimes it's girls, but like girls of different races, but
Boys
not
do it
black
too,
girls or anything like that. But usually it's white girls.
but boys also want to touch your hair. Just
Yes.
curious.
Yes,
They
it's
act
so
like
annoying. I literally twisted my hair like 3 days in a row, and I walk in the hallway. One kid was just being out of the question, just pushed his fingers through my hair, almost made me fold. And then there's kids with women in class, they just keep out like, oh my god, it's so soft. Oh my god. I'm like, oh my god, just don't touch it. Just get a dog or something. Like, you don't have to touch my hair. Like, I'm sorry if you're not black and you can't get hair like this because your hair is naturally straight. But I don't want this to be bombarded every day by probably most likely unsanitized fingers in my hair. Like seriously, bro, nasty.
Okay.
um it's the thing, they think our hair is, the new purple grid mattress or a Serta mattress, get it today. It feels too good to pass up.
New purple mattress. That's got to
Yeah.
be frustrating for you guys. That's got to be extremely frustrating to have to deal with this every day, and especially now that we're into this. Oh gosh, I'm trying to figure out how to define it. We had our first black president, and now we're dealing with the murders of all of these black men. I can't imagine going to school like that every day and having to deal with this, and you're in a diverse school. So, and there's a statement, there's a question here and a statement. It sounds like your view of blackness are shaped a lot by white people. I'm sorry, your self-image change if you are around more black people? Now, I know you visit California
Uh,
often and you visit Louisiana some. So, is it different when you are around black people?
my view of blackness is not shaped by white people at all. It's just that what they think it's shaped like. My view of blackness is how it's always been. The culture is great. The tradition is great. Everything
The
is
food
great.
is seasoned.
The food is seasoned.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say, Rachel?
The
The
food
food
is
is
seasoned.
seasoned.
For a season? I didn't hear you.
The
Yeah, the
food
food
is
is seasoned.
seasoned.
Oh,
Like
see,
classic things like
So
that.
yeah. So not shaped by white people at all. Um, and if I were to be around more black people, I would start shaping myself different because they can tell me their experiences and tell them to me so that I can change the way I act so that I am not like the how do I say it, like the default of what a black person is supposed to look like or act like.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, yeah, I do get how most of what we've talked about is basically stereotypes which have been created by white people and just society in general. But our whole thing that we've been taught all our life, and also just like that we've been taught to try to stay away from, is just like don't be the stereotype, don't become the statistic or a number. But there are definitely certain things I think that even if we are around black people aren't going to change. Like they're definitely going to expect you to know how to play basketball or football. Like that's just kind of a cultural thing that we're supposed to be like, or guys at least, are usually supposed to be athletic type of people. And even if you're not, okay, fine. But like, I definitely feel like the stereotypes definitely have bled into what black people think we should also be like in general. Um, so I feel like even if I was around more black people, certain things would still stay the same, but it
Yeah.
wouldn't be because, oh, that's the box you're supposed to be put in. That's more of a, this is how we feel we should act, or what we should know how to do, or things that are typical of our culture as a people, like in America in general.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. And what about you, Rayshawn? That question online.
So for me, I don't feel like I've been shaped by white people, even though, Utah here, it's mostly white. I do tend to hang around minorities more than white people, simply because there's just some things that white people are allowed to do that just anger me or make me, shake my head. So that's because minorities know they can understand each other's struggle even if they're not the same race. But white people don't necessarily have that luxury. They have to, study. They have to read a book on it or something. They have to go around asking questions, be a
Oh, it's
CNN
a book.
reporter. And I feel like minorities, they already have that. It's like packed in from a young age.
Okay.
So I feel like
You all
they,
you all use the word that I really have a problem with, minority, because I don't like being called a minority. How do you guys really feel about that word? Because you're getting ready to go back to school and you're going to be dealing with teachers. And we've had of um, a lot of action going on since you've been in school. So the things that you're hearing from your fellow classmates, you're also going to hear some things from your teachers that are not going to make you comfortable. And I'm just, that word minority is one of those that, but is there anything that makes you uncomfortable in the classroom, and how are you going to handle these teachers? Because you're going to run into some things. You know that. I think you are.
the only problem I'm gonna have is in history class. When you get to February, gotta talk about
Black history
being
comes out.
the
How do
only
you feel
black kid
about
in the
slavery?
class, and all heads turned towards you. I do remember though, we had to read To Kill a Mockingbird, and there's some quite not kid-friendly language.
Oh, very
And
rude.
Blood of the N word.
people would like look around the room at me like confirmation, but it's being the minority that gives you a little bit of power. You get to decide some things. The rich people, wealthy people are a minority, but they make up most of the wealth of the world. They're, lawmakers, leaders. They get to decide. So when I think of minority, it's not really, you know, I'm a small part. It's I'm a decision maker. Other people will have to listen to what I'm saying because they don't have that same experience. And if I don't, big things could happen that they won't like.
Mm. Yeah, the only thing that I guess was a little bit supposedly uncomfortable is, yeah, there's that whole thing whenever slavery comes around or whatever. Definitely people look to you for, or especially teachers will make sure that they ask you the question. But yeah, definitely in my classes, kids will still answer, but they'll definitely be like, okay, so you need to answer at some point, kind of thing, because you are the black kid in the class. Um, but yeah, the only thing that was ever really uncomfortable, there was one thing that um, we talked about in my language arts class. It wasn't uncomfortable because of like, it was a bad thing that like, oh, should, but it was a more conscious thing. Like we were about to read this book called Huckleberry Finn, and it had the N word in it, right? And my teacher wouldn't say the N word; she would just say slave or in place of that. But yeah, or she said that you could say slave or say that in your head in place of the N word, and also talked about whether or our feelings on how the ER version of the word and the A, and how um, ER is the definite like straight up racist, like you know exactly what you're saying is completely wrong. And I've definitely had people say that to me, but it's not out of like hate. It's more of just like, oh, like the whole thing about how people will probably tell them if you say they're on the wrong person, they're gonna beat you up. Like it's more of the ignorance, like, oh, they're gonna fight. What are they gonna do? Or like just trying to get a reaction. So I know that when people say it, most of the time they're just being idiots. But with the A word, that the A version, it's more of like a there. It's that's the cool word to say, like, and it makes you like hood or whatever, and it's kind of a badge of honor when you say it. And it's like it's just weird that we are the most loved when it comes to our culture, but the most hated when it comes to us being a person, which is weird because like people feel like they should be able to do and say everything that a black person can do. Um, but when we are not that stereotype or whatever, or try and tell them that's not right, like the reason we say that white people, other people shouldn't say the A version of the N word in the first place anyway. Sure, whatever you're hood or whatever, but you're not black. Like it's not meant for you to say. And others will say it to other people, like Latinos or especially Polynesians say it a lot, like use it very loosely. Um, and so, and sometimes I see like white kids do it, but they're usually the ones who are already acting hood or whatever, so they're supposed to be. So it's cool with anyone who they're around. But in my head, I'm just shaking my head like, are you kidding me? Like that's not
Yeah.
like no one really cares about the significance of why it changed the way it did because of the fact that we like historically black people have always tried to make the best situation out of what we've been given. Like out of slavery, we got stuff like the Harlem Renaissance, jazz, blues, R&B, soul. Like a lot of our music comes from our struggles as a people, and also just like that we persevere and create things from the pain that we've suffered as a people, and it just kind of sucks that no one cares when the reason why the N word has changed to be more colloquial and like friendly is because we are changing the meaning of it and wanting it to be something that we can say to each other and not be the meaning.
Hmm.
And others take it and just use it more for the oh look at me, I'm cool, I'm saying that black word that no one is supposed to say, uh, or like no white person is supposed to say or whatever. And it's become more of like a this makes me cool thing rather than them consciously knowing that this is something that really should only be said by that race. So
Okay.
Also,
I'm
um,
sorry.
Huh?
also, I saw this in a commercial. You know, if a black person's a cop, you will not always know that they're a cop. They will always know you're black. So you have to don that mantle and be the bigger man or woman. And I think that's also part of it.
Okay. Okay. Someone asked the question, so yes or no. And from what I'm hearing in the interview, it says everyone wants to be black until it's time to be black. Are you proud to be a black man? Deshaun, one of
Yes,
you,
yes,
Deshaun answered. So just yes or no.
yes,
yes,
yes.
Yes, yes. From this
Yes.
interview, it sounds like you're very proud to be
Yeah,
a black
because
man.
we're literally shaping everything. Like, you're never, like, not never, but you're like 90% of the time not gonna see a country person sing at the Super Bowl. You're gonna see someone like last year, Jennifer Lopez, or like a rapper of some sort. And like music nowadays is like all rap, which is what we created back in the day. So yeah, it just
I think
everybody kind of copy what we do to like pretend like they're I don't know one of
I
us.
think I've seen a couple of country singers at the Super Bowl. I think they've had a couple. So
Yeah.
this is my last question to you all. If you had the opportunity to speak to someone in your age group, a young Black person or Black biracial person, because I say Black biracial because society identifies them as Black. Many of them identify as Black. Some do not. I met someone the other day. That's a long story. What would you have to say to them about being Black in America? Moving on as a Black person, and you all have a lot of confidence, how to build that confidence and be secure in yourself, someone in from the age of 12 to 17.
So for Black people, it's, you know, take this with a grain of salt, but go that extra length and, don't be that stereotype, but make a name for yourself, make yourself be seen. For biracial people, it's a little bit harder because society doesn't see them as Black. Society sees them as white, but the government sees them as Black. And so it's a little bit tougher for them to fit in because some of them I know have conflicting, ideals. So that's also part of it.
I feel like they're still seen as Black, but there's definitely certain, like, lighter skinned people are more easily assimilated into white groups of people, and also they can still sometimes be easily assimilated into Black cult, like with Black people. But like, I feel like sometimes there's some kind of middle space where they don't feel like they're too Black, or they don't feel like they really fit in with Black people, like darker skinned people like me. Um, or but they also don't feel like they really fit in with white people, or they know that if they hang around a lot more white people, they are that one Black friend that they have that's kind of like that token Black friend that they can be like, oh, I'm not racist, I have this Black friend. And so I don't know, I feel like with biracial people, they definitely have their own struggles of just kind of finding where they fit in or how to navigate being part of two different like races, but not really being able to completely be with one or the other, unless you really lean into usually being Black and like um, really lean into that and kind of ignore your white side if you are biracial, or make it very clear that you don't really identify with the white part of your what people may think you're white, even if you are both your parents are Black and you've just come out as a lighter complexion.
So
So
you all know that the historical context of all of that, right? The
Yeah.
slave master being in the house and being out in the fields.
yeah,
But Zion, go ahead. And so what is it that you would have to say to someone in your peer group about being Black in America, and being as confident as the three of you are, and being yourselves, as opposed to being somebody else, or being someone that someone else wants you to be?
um, I don't feel like I really have to say much because I feel like a lot of Black people are proud in the first place because of that whole everyone wants to be me, but it's always like you can always tell that it's fake, and so it's just kind of funny, and it's a both a badge of honor but also an annoyance because of the fact that like when people do and they try really hard, but you can tell they're just like definitely more white than they are trying to be Black, like it's just bad. So I feel like if I were to tell anybody anything, I feel like they would already be proud of being Black, but also just to know that, let's say if they're more like me, where like they're just the more intelligent type of person or whatever, and they're not so, I don't know, I guess they don't try to act so street or hood all the time, like that you're still Black, and it doesn't matter if you don't fit that stereotype. You still have the Black culture that you have if you live with your Black parents or whatever. And if it's someone who is adopted, I feel like I would tell them to probably, because they already, I'm pretty sure that by the time they're my age, they definitely already are trying to identify more that Black side of them than maybe usually the white parents that they're with, or there's conflicting things that happen with them between having white parents and acting more like them because you don't know your black side of or your black parents or whatever, and that's not kind of culture that you grew up around. Probably tell them maybe to look more into like black history or things about what it means to be black, things like that. Um,
That's where I was hoping you would lean, because we do have young black kids who are not as privileged. And I when I say that, who don't have parents who are guiding them on the direction of being positive, playing music, thinking positive about yourself, being educated, reading books. So that's kind of good that you made that comment. And Zion, what about you? And so bottom line is, what advice would you give a young black boy who doesn't have the same that you do, and who's not in your area, who's struggling with his color, who's struggling in the communities that they live in? So we're gonna go ahead and jump to Deshaun, and if you do have anything to piggyback on, we'll let you do that.
What I would tell them first, obviously, just be yourself. Don't let anybody dictate who you should be, and just talk about everybody before us that set the path. Every African American person before us that set the path to who we are today. So you should be proud of who you are, because you've come from a long line of your ancestors who sacrificed themselves, or they were captured and then they tried to escape to make a better life for them and their families. So you should be proud that you've come a long way and we still have a long way to go.
Okay, okay. Yeah, Rayshawn or Zion, do you want to just have some final comments on that?
I would say that yeah, you should just be proud to be a black person in the first place because we are very resilient people as in our culture just in general, but also just from what we've been through, what you go through as a person, and in this life in modern times anyway, that you have certain microaggressions and other things as a black person you have to navigate and know how to deal with. And so to learn more about um, like the classic black heroes like Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, uh, Rosa Parks, Terry Hubman, Harriet Tubman, and people like that, but also to really research about or really get into what black culture what black culture we have, like certain music I would tell them maybe to listen to that they could help to identify with, not like the classic rap stuff that we have on the radio all the time, but more conscious rap type things that talk about how being black is both both a blessing and a curse kind of thing, and to maybe seek out someone who they can trust that's a black male if they're a guy, or a woman if they're a woman, and talk to them about their problems or ask their mom and dad about helping them find someone who they can go talk to, or maybe getting in touch with their original parents if they still are or aren't, but things like that to help them navigate who they are as a black person.
Okay, all right. And Rayshawn, you're gonna have the last word.
There are always going to be, some black people out there who just, you know, don't fit in with the description of what black people think is black and what everybody else thinks is black. And, you know, if you can't, fit that, and maybe you view yourself as more as white or another race, at least learn what skin on your back means to everybody around you. It won't matter what it means to you to some extent, because you're not trying to hurt yourself or put yourself behind bars, but other people are. So that's the thing. that I would like to say to close this off.
Okay. I want to thank all three of you. You guys did a wonderful job. You were very honest, and I thank you for being honest with everything. We're going to have a survey online. I would love to see a survey of what you think of what these young boys, young men, excuse me, young men did on our webinar, because I think they did a great job. So please answer the survey. We will not be doing this on September the 4th. So I wanted to let everyone know that we won't be doing that. We'll return on September the 18th. I want to again thank our sponsors, the Utah Jazz, Planned Parenthood of Utah, Pacific Islander, Pacific Island Knowledge to Action Resource, the Utah Coalition Against Sexual Assault, and Enlightened Productions. And you can go on our YouTube channel, which the address will be in the survey, like and subscribe and like our YouTube channel. And young men, if you know any other men that would come and like to address this, we would love to have them, because we want to hear from young Black men to hear what's going on, what they're thinking, and what they're processing through all of what's going on, which is actually a repeat in history. But we'd like to hear it from your generation. So thank you to everyone for signing in today and listening to these wonderful young men. There's a comment, you guys are great. I'm proud of you, and I'm glad to see that you're out there to give young Black men a positive spin on life. Good luck to you young men in the future endeavors. Stay great, and I think you will. I know you will. I see you moving around. So thank you. So long, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay tuned for the next episode on how spaces define masculinity, a Black and Black biracial men's initiative.